Okay, Prabhu. Anyway, let's make a start. We'll get the prayers done anyway.
Okay.
So anyway, I just want to first of all welcome you to the program and welcome everybody else as well. And it's a pleasure having you here today on the program. I know, we had to work at it a little bit, but anyway, we're here. And I know everybody knows you, most people there are already there, that they know you already very well. And there's two or three people from my side at the moment. And for the sake of recording, I would just want to introduce you. So first of all, we're doing Canto 1, Chapter 12, Birth of Emperor Parikshit today. We're doing the overview. And just want to introduce Prabhu. He's had a wonderful journey at Iskcon Coventry soon after getting married. And then in 1985, he joined Iskcon Coventry and then initiated 87, second initiation 1988 by His Holiness Krishna Das Swami Maharaj. And he hasn't really looked back. He's now serving Srila Prabhupada last 40 years. And he's at positions like he's the treasurer, head Pujari, vice president. Now he's the president of Iskcon Coventry. So a wonderful journey for Prabhu, and really looking forward today to hear from him. So I'll pass you on to him, and we shall make a start. Hare Krishna.
Jai Hare Krishna. For the introduction, do I do Jai Radha Madhav or go straight into?
You can do it, please.
Okay. Because I only been part of one session with Guru Sevak. Okay. Jayo Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Jayo Girivaradhari Jayo Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radhe Jayo Jayo Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Guru Maharaj Jaya Guru Maharaj Jaya Guru Maharaj Jaya Guru Maharaj Nitai Gura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Shishi Radha Madhav ke Jai Shishi sorry Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Shri Guru Maharaj ki Shri Satchidananda Chand ki Jai Gaura Premanandi Hari Bol. Thank you for inviting me, and I will endeavor to do some glorification of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. But by giving an overview of the chapter 12, first canto, entitled The Birth of Emperor Parikshit. For some Manglacharan first. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Nashtaprashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata-Sevayā Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. There is one more verse. It's from the Chaitanya Manusha, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and I haven't quite mastered it, but it's a very nice verse, and it glorifies Bhagavatam. So I would like to chant it today. Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanayas Tadadam Vrindavanam Ramya Kachid Upasna Vrajavadu Vargena Va Kalpita Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Pumatho Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur Matamidam Tatradhara Napara. And the translation of that is, the Supreme Person it is a conclusive opinion of Lord Chaitanya that Shri Krishna, who is Brajendra Nandan, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, the topmost worshipable deity. Vrindavan Dham, which is an expansion of Krishna and is non-different from Him, is the highest worshipable abode. The gopis are the highest example of the worship of Shri Krishna. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the spotless evidence for knowing the absolute truth. Krishna Prem is the fifth and highest goal of life. These are the teachings of Sri Chaitanya in a nutshell. So, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Mahapuran ki jai. So, I'm just setting up my screens here. So, Hare Krishna to everybody. Thank you for joining us. The birth of Emperor Parikshit. So, taking the view of giving an overview of this chapter, I will give some indication of the sections of verses which are collected together, and then pick a few verses where we can go into depth and hopefully enjoy this chapter. I've had to read it several times in preparation for this class, and it is honestly, it's like, oh my God, I mean, there's so much packed into this. Srila Prabhupada's translation is amazing. He has done such a fantastic service to humanity by translating these books, and his purports are breathtaking at times. So, as a background, the sages at Naimisharanya gathered and asked questions to Srila Rishi. And Sutta Goswami. The leader of the sages at Naimisharanya was Shaunak Rishi, and he was asking the questions on behalf of all of them to Sutta Goswami. And in his recitation of Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami is remembering how he heard it in the presence of Shukta Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit directly. He was one of the people sitting in that amazing gathering. But in between, and that's the first chapter. But then what happens is that then we have a little sort of going off in a different direction. We got sorry. Let me just let me just start by actually at least doing the Sanskrit of the first verse. Shonaka uvacha ashvatamno pasrishtena brahmashinoru tejasa uttaraya hato garbha ishena jivita puna. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. The sage Shonak said, the womb of Uttara, the mother of Maharaj Parikshit, was spoiled by the dreadful and invincible Brahmastra weapon released by Ashvatthama. But Maharaj Parikshit was saved by the Supreme Lord. So in this short purport, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that the sages originally made inquiries about the birth of Maharaj Parikshit. But as the chapters progress, what happened was we sort of learned about how Ashwatthama released the Brahmastra, then how he was punished by, chased and caught by Arjuna and punished by Arjuna. Then Queen Kunti, her wonderful prayers to Lord Krishna as he was preparing to depart to go back to Dwarka. Then the stuti by Bhishmadev when the Pandavas went to see Bhishmadev lying on the bed of arrows. And then Krishna leaving for Dwarka and then entering Dwarka. So what's happening now is the sages are now bringing the conversation back to what they originally asked, how did this Bhagavatam come about? Greatness. So the subject is back. So that's the first verses 1 to 3 are the rishis asking about Parikshit Maharaj. And now I'll just stick to the English. Text 2 is, how was the great Emperor Parikshit, who was a highly intelligent and great devotee, born in that womb? How did his death take place? And what did he achieve after his death? Text 3, we all respectfully want to hear about him, Maharaj Parikshit, to whom Shukta Goswami imparted transcendental knowledge. Please speak on this matter. So that's the first 3. And then the next 3, the next 3 verses is glorification of Yudhishthira Maharaj. After Mahabharata Yuddha, after he became the emperor of the world, there is glorification of Yudhishthira Maharaj. So Sut Goswami is now speaking. He's saying, in reply to the query from the sage, he says, Shri Sut Goswami said, Emperor Yudhishthira administered generously to everyone during his reign. He was exactly like his father. He had no personal ambition and was freed from all sorts of sense gratification because of his continuous service unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Text 5. So Yudhishthira Maharaj was immensely liked by everybody, and he was glorious. He was glorious. His glory reached even the heavenly planets, and even the demigods were impressed by him. So text 5 is saying, news even reached the celestial planets about Maharaj Yudhishthira's worldly possessions, the sacrifices by which he would attain a better destination, his queen, his stalwart brothers, his extensive land, his sovereignty over the planet Earth, his fame, etc. So, this news spread far and wide beyond this planet. And text 6, O Brahmins, the opulence of the king was so enchanting that the denizens of heaven aspired for it. But because he was absorbed in the service of the Lord, nothing could satisfy except the Lord's service. So although he was the emperor, highest office you could hold in the whole world in Vedic times, highest office, most opulent, right? He had everything. But because he was a devotee of the Lord, he was absorbed in the service of the Lord. Nothing could satisfy him except the Lord's service. So it's worth here reading part of the purport to understand Yudhishthira's character here. That although he occupying the highest office in the world, not just the land, your own country, your land, no, but the highest office in the world, emperor of the whole world, he was absorbed in Krishna's, in thoughts of Krishna. So here Prabhupada is explaining, and it's worth noting, there are two things in the world which can satisfy living beings. When one is materially engrossed, he is satisfied only by sense gratification. Right? As devotees in Iskcon, we want to share this message, spread the message, preach it, and we often have to counter materialism, materialistic thinking. But look at this: when one is materially engrossed, he is satisfied only by sense gratification. But when one is liberated from the conditions of the material modes, he is satisfied only by rendering loving service for the satisfaction of the Lord. Being illusioned by the conditions of the external energy, one falsely thinks himself to be the served. But actually he is not served. He is servant of the senses like lust, desire, anger, avarice, pride, madness, and intolerance. However, when one is in his proper senses, by attainment of spiritual knowledge, he realizes that he is not the master of the material world, but is only a servant of the senses. At that time, he begs for the service of the Lord and thus becomes happy without being illusioned by so-called material happiness. Maharaj Yudhishthira was one of the liberated souls, and therefore for him there was no pleasure in a vast kingdom, good dharmapatni, obedient brothers, happy subjects, and a prosperous world. So this is the character of a great devotee of the Lord Maharaj Yudhishthira. So 3 verses were there describing the nature, the character of Yudhishthira. Now, the next few verses is Maharaj Parikshit's situation in the womb of his mother, Uttara. So, O son of Bhrigu, Sut Goswami is saying, O son of Bhrigu, Shonak. So Shonak is actually a son of Bhrigu Muni. O son of Bhrigu, Shonak, when the child Parikshit, the great fighter, was in the womb of his mother Uttara and was suffering from the burning heat of the Brahmastra, which was thrown by Ashvatthama, he could observe the Supreme Lord coming to him. Oh my goodness, look at this blessing Parikshit Maharaj is receiving in the womb. He is taking direct darshan of the Supreme Lord. Direct darshan. You can see he's coming to save him. Oh, amazing. So let's continue reading how he's taking this darshan. And this will lead to some a name he is given, and what we know Parikshit, right? And what Parikshit means, that will be explained soon. But there's another name which is well known by. Mm-hmm. So this description is going on. Parikshit in the womb of his mother. He, the Lord, was only thumb high in relation to the fetus, right? But he was all transcendental. He had a very beautiful, blackish, infallible body, and he wore a dress of lightning yellow and a helmet of blazing gold. Thus he was seen by the child. Carrying on, text 9. The Lord was enriched with 4 hands, earrings of molten gold, eyes blood red with fury. He was angry. My devotee is being attacked. My devotee's my devotee's grandchild is being attacked in where all norms of good Kshatriya behavior were broken by Ashwatthama. As he loitered, so his eyes were, he was showing anger. As he loitered about, this is the Supreme Lord in the womb, his club was constantly encircling him like a shooting star. So he was creating a shield with his club around Parikshit. Okay, beautiful description. And then the Lord was thus engaged in vanquishing the radiation of the Brahmastra. Just as the sun evaporates a drop of dew. I mean, what is the effort needed for the sun to evaporate a drop of dew in the morning? One drop. Nothing. It's a completely effortless task. But that's how the Lord was protecting Parikshit. He was observed by the child who thought about who he was. So Parikshit is wondering, who is this? Who is this? All of us, our scriptures reveal to us that when we are in the womb, when we become conscious at 7 months, we are praying. Our past lives come flooding back into us, and we remember them, and then therefore we're remembering the agony of repeated birth and death, and then we are praying, no, not another birth. We're praying to the Lord, not another birth. You know? But we unfortunately we are not taking the darshan. Parikshit Maharaj here is taking the darshan. So text 11, while thus being observed by the child, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the super soul of everyone, and the protector of the righteous, who stretches in all directions and who is unlimited by time and space, disappeared at once. So he protected him, and Parikshit had immense blessing of taking the darshan of the Supreme Lord, and then the Lord disappeared. Just like Dhruv Maharaj when he was meditating, when he did that amazing meditation in 6 months, the whole universe was shaking, and demigods become disturbed. So he was taking darshan of the Lord in his heart. He was taking darshan of the Lord in his heart. And then the Lord disappeared. So, he was meditating and the Lord taking darshan, and the beautiful darshan, and then the Lord disappeared. And then he opened his eyes saying, oh my God, where is it gone? And the Lord was standing before him. Supreme Lord was standing before him. So similarly here, the Lord, he did his business, he did his, his job, he protected Parikshit. Job done, then he disappeared. Okay. So those are a few verses describing how Parikshit is taking darshan of the Lord in the womb. Fantastic. Then the next verse is the birth of Parikshit Maharaj. Thereupon, when all the good signs of the zodiac gradually evolved, the heir apparent of Pandu would be exactly like him in prowess took birth. So Pandu will be his great-grandfather. His grandfathers were Yudhishthir and the 5 Pandav brothers. His father was Abhimanyu, son of Arjun. So Pandu himself would be the great-grandfather. But when all the good signs of the zodiac were in position, he took birth. And Prabhupada is explaining that a great personality's birth is not an ordinary event. His appearance is glorified, and the various situations become auspicious. The birth of a special personality, of a Lord's devotee. So that's what is being said here. Now, interestingly enough, okay, I'll carry on. So now, Parikshit has taken birth, and Yudhishthira Maharaj is doing all the right things when there is a birth, according to the Vedic system. What should be done when there is a birth in the family? It said, King Yudhishthira, who was very satisfied with the birth of Maharaj Parikshit, had the purificatory process of birth performed. The sanskar was performed. In this day and age, we are sadly seeing the slow deterioration of everything religious. And for us, following Sanatana Dharma, it's all the Vedic processes, customs which have been handed down to us over generations. And there is a huge momentum in the opposite direction, not to take interest in dharmic things, but in the opposite direction. But here, Yudhishthira Maharaj is doing the right things. He is having the sanskar done for Parikshit. Next, his learned Brahmins headed by Dhaumya and Kripacharya. Dhaumya and Kripacharya recited auspicious hymns. Important thing to note is learned Brahmins. Yes, learned Brahmins. We tend to make the mistake that if somebody has the title of a Brahman, we automatically assuming they are learned. Unfortunately, in this day and age, that is not the case. For many of them, it's just a career, and the heart isn't in it. So it's important for us that when we do look for Brahmins to do some traditional ceremonies, we take care that we find someone who actually knows what he's doing. Unfortunately, it's quite common that, and myself, I have experienced that, we've engaged Brahmins in ceremonies, and then we are, because we've been in this movement for so long, and Prabhupada, we have some understanding what should be done. And when we see things not being done properly, it's like, oh, you really get agitated. So it's very important that you engage learned Brahmins. That's what Yudhishthira is doing. Learned Brahmins headed by Dhaumya and Kripa recited auspicious hymns. And the purport Prabhupada is saying, there is a need for a good and intelligent class of Brahmins who are expert in performing the purificatory processes prescribed in the system of Varnashram Dharma. Unless such purificatory processes are performed, there is no possibility of good population. And in the age of Kali, the population all over the world is of Shudra quality or lower for want of this purificatory process. It is not possible, however, to revive the Vedic process of purification in this age for want of proper facilities and good Brahmins. But there is a Pancharatric system also recommended for this age. The Pancharatric system acts on the Shudra class of man, the population of Kali Yuga, and it is a prescribed purificatory process suitable to the age and time. Such a purificatory process is allowed only for spiritual upliftment and not for any other purpose. Spiritual upliftment is never conditioned by higher or lower parentage. So again, great emphasis on finding qualified spiritual person to do the right things. Moving on. So it is Yudhishthira Maharaj is doing all the right things for Parikshit on the birth of Parikshit. Upon the birth of a son, the king. And now in this chapter, you will see that Yudhishthira Maharaj and the Pandavas are sometimes referred to as fathers, and Parikshit as son. Although technically it's grandfathers and grandson, but because his own father was not there, he was killed in the battle of Mahabharata. Then Yudhishthira Maharaj and the other Pandavas took on the role of bringing up Parikshit. Upon the birth of a son, the king, who knew how, where, and when charity should be given, gave gold, land, villages, elephants, horses, and good food grains to the Brahmins. So everything should be deeply thought. That's what we learn from Bhagavad-Gita and in our readings at Iskcon commentary. We just did the 3 modes of nature. It becomes clear that everything we do should be well thought out and not done whimsically, because that's a lower mode. If Rajo and Tamagun. But as devotees, we should be rising to the platform of Sattvagun with the target of eventually achieving Shuddha Sattvagun. And Sattvagun means well thought out actions, well thought out words, well thought out actions, not whimsical. So it says that here, the king, Yudhishthira Maharaj, who knew how, where, and when charity should be given, gave gold, land, villages, elephants, horses, and good food grains to the Brahmins. So, and when we are going out and about in town, in the superstores, we see people there with the begging bowls, they're sitting there. In town, if I go to town, I see them. But sometimes I just sit there and I'm watching. I'm watching. And I see the same ones sitting in the same places, and they have formed friendships. And they'll keep looking at the clock, at the watch, and at a certain time, some of them will decide, okay, I've done enough today, and they will get up, collect everything, and go. Once I was at Morrison's here in Coventry, and I went in close, near closing time. So it was getting dark and it was wintry, so it was cold. And there was one person there with his begging paraphernalia, and he was there. And I just walked past him, went in. When I came out, it's remarkable. When I came out, I saw him on a bike cycling away. So I'm thinking it's a career for this guy. He doesn't need, he's made begging his means of income. Not that this is my absolute necessity. I'm down to nothing. I got nothing. I'm depending on others' mercy to give me something. No, this guy he'll cycle in, lay out his begging, sleeping bag, whatever, beg all day, and then go home. So this place, it says here, Yudhishthira Maharaj knew how, where, and when charity should be given. We devotees must be very thoughtful in all our actions. Our Guru Maharaj trained us very, very strictly. He said, do not. We would go on yatra with him, and he would watch. Initially, he would stop us giving money away, and then he says, give what I tell you to give. So that was quite an education. Next. Again, engaging the right qualified people, the learned Brahmins who were very satisfied with the charities of the king, addressed him as the chief amongst the Purus, King Puru, and informed him that his son was certainly in the line of descent from the Purus. The learned Brahmins said, 16. Now they're describing Parikshit, right? The learned Brahmins. They said, this spotless son has been restored by the all-powerful and all-pervasive Lord Vishnu, the personality of Godhead, in order to oblige you. He was saved when he was doomed to be destroyed by an irresistible supernatural weapon. So a bit of the paragraph, purport is worth reading here. And there are two words in actual Sanskrit, right? It says Vishnuna and Prabha Vishnuna. Vishnuna, Prabha Vishnuna. So this spotless son has been restored by the all-powerful and all-pervasive Lord Vishnu, which is Vishnuna, all-pervasive Lord. And he was doomed to be destroyed. He was saved when he was doomed to be destroyed by an irresistible supernatural weapon. So in the Sanskrit, Vishnuna is the all-pervasive Lord, and Prabha Vishnuna, because that is the Maharaj, Prabha Vishnu Maharaj, Prabha Vishnuna, the all-powerful. The all-powerful. This spotless son has been restored by the all-powerful and the all-pervasive Lord Vishnu. So just a few lines from the purport. Parikshit Maharaj was saved by the all-powerful, all-pervasive Vishnu, Lord Krishna, for two reasons. The first reason is that the child in the womb of his mother was spotless due to his being a pure devotee of the Lord. Because the beginning words by this learned Brahman, this spotless son of yours, right? So he, in the purport, is saying because he was spotless due to his being a pure devotee of the Lord. The second reason is that the child was the only surviving male descendant of Puru, the pious forefather of the virtuous king Yudhishthira. That's going back a few generations. The Lord wants to continue the line of pious kings to rule over the earth as his representatives for the actual progress of a peaceful and prosperous life. After the battle of Kurukshetra, even up to the next generation of Maharaj Yudhishthira was annihilated. Yeah, the norms of battle was slowly broken. The rules of battle are broken as the war progressed day by day, and it got worse and worse. And then the purport continues, there were none who could generate another son in the great royal family. Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Abhimanyu, was the only surviving heir apparent in the family, and by the irresistible supernatural Brahmastra weapon of Ashwatthama, he was forced to be annihilated. He was attempted to be annihilated. But Krishna protected him. Lord Krishna is described herein as Vishnu, and this is also significant. Lord Krishna, the original person of Godhead, does the work of protection and annihilation in his capacity of Vishnu. Lord Vishnu is a plenary expression of Lord Krishna. So, let's carry on. The Brahmins are continuing to talk to Yudhishthira Maharaj about Parikshit Maharaj. For this reason, now this is the other name which he's well known by, which I only became aware when I was studying this chapter. For this reason, this child will be well known in the world as one who is protected by the personality of Godhead, because Vishnu protected him. Tasman namna Vishnu Rata. So it's Vishnu Rata. Parikshit Maharaj, another well-known name for him is Vishnu Rata. Vishnu Rata. One who is protected by Vishnu. Oh, most fortunate one, there is no doubt that this child will become a first-class devotee and will be qualified with all good qualities. That's beautiful. So that's the section where the Brahmins are talking to Yudhishthira Maharaj, which was verses 13 to 15. And so 16 to 17, the Brahmins describe the child as Vishnu Rata. And now from 18, Yudhishthira Maharaj is now asking one question. He's asking a question in one verse. The good King Yudhishthira inquired, "O great souls, will he become as saintly a king, as pious in his very name, and as famous and glorified in his achievements as others who appeared in this great royal family?" So Yudhishthira wants to know, what's the future of this newborn baby? What's the future? And many verses will now be spoken, 19 to 28. Many verses will now be spoken where the learned Brahmins, by their knowledge, by the astrological knowledge, can predict what this child will be like in the future. And what the method they're using is because this child hasn't done anything yet, he's just born. So the method of describing what he will be like is to compare him with previous great rulers. Previous great rulers. And there's a long list here. So if we just start with the first one, the learned Brahman said, "O son of Pritha, this child shall be exactly like King Ikshvaku." That's going back a long, long time. The son of Manu. And in the fourth chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, very first verse, Imam Vivasvati Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam Vivasvan Man Me Praha. forget the last line. So it's Manu speaking to Ikshvaku, Vivasvan speaking to Manu, Manu speaking to Ikshvaku. And the parampara is being described there. This child shall be exactly like King Ikshvaku, the son of Manu, in maintaining all those who are born. And as for following Brahminical principles, especially being true to his promise, he shall be exactly like Lord Ram, the personality of Godhead, the son of Maharaj Dasharatha. So this is now, for many verses, this is going to happen, that they'll be describing the qualities of Parikshit Maharaj in the future by referring to past personalities. And the next one. This child will be a munificent donor of charity and protector of the surrendered, like the famous King Shibi of the Ushinara country. And he will expand the name and fame of his family like Bharat, the son of Maharaj Dushyant. So this is in here, King Shibi is going back, and in the purports, each personality mentioned, Srila Prabhupada is describing a brief history of that person, why they're great. What is their greatness? And Shibi is the king whom a bird came to him asking for protection, and then the other bird who was chasing was saying, "No, that's my food." And the king Shiva himself started cutting his own flesh to give, because the other bird needed meat. So and this is described, in the purport. Now, there's the second part of this was, he will expand the name and fame of his family like Bharat, the son of Maharaj Dushyant. And Prabhupada is explaining in the purport that there are many Bharats in history, of which Bharat, the brother of Lord Ram, Bharat, the son of King Rishabdev, and Bharat, the son of Maharaj Dushyant. So these three are very famous. All these Bharats are historically known to the universe. This planet, our planet, is known as Bharatvarsh, due to King Bharat, the son of Rishabdev. Now, but Prabhupada explaining that some others will say that no, this known as Bharatvarsh due to the reign of son Dushyant. Shakuntala, Dushyant and Shakuntala, they were wed. Shakuntala was the daughter of Vishwamitra, so their son was Bharat. So some say that Bharatvarsh is named after that Bharat. But Prabhupada is maintaining that it's King Rishabdev's son Bharat, that Bharatvarsh is named after. Before him, the land was known as Ilavatvarsh. But just after the coronation of Bharat, the son of Rishabh, this land became famous as Bharatvarsh. So I'm going to, I was really, as I was diving deeper and deeper into this chapter and reading and rereading, I thought there is so much packed into this. I saw, how do we ever do justice? I'll give an overview in 1 hour. It's you could spend a whole session on one of these verses. This is how magnificent Bhagavatam is. So I will quickly just read through this glorification, the future behavior, character of Parikshit Maharaj. Amongst great bowmen, this child will be as good as Arjun. He will be irresistible as fire, and as unsurpassable as the ocean. This child will be as strong as a lion and as worthy a shelter as the Himalaya mountains. He will be forbearing like the earth and as tolerant as his parents. This child will be like his grandfather Yudhishthir or Brahma in equanimity of mind. He will be munificent like the Lord of the Kailash hill, Lord Shiva. And he will be the resort of everyone, like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, who is even the shelter of the goddess of fortune. This child will be almost as good as Lord Krishna by following in his footsteps. In magnanimity, he will become as great as King Rantidev, and in religion, he'll be like Maharaj Yayati. So I'm just speedily reading just the translations, but I encourage all of you, each personality mentioned here is a brief paragraph on that person in the purports. So if you want to know more about these personalities, please do read the purports. That was verse 24, and there's a... Now, Prabhupada says something very nice here in the purport of first paragraph. He says, the last instruction of Lord Shri Krishna in the Bhagavad-Gita is that one should give up everything and follow in the footsteps of the Lord alone. Less intelligent persons do not agree to this great instruction of the Lord, as ill luck would have it, but one who is actually intelligent catches up to this sublime instruction and is immensely benefited. Foolish people do not know that association is a cause of acquiring qualities. Association with fire makes an object hot even in the material sense. Therefore, association with the Supreme Personality of God makes one qualified like the Lord. To follow the instructions of the Lord is to associate with the Lord. And the next line has been is in italics. It's highlighted. The Lord is not a material object whose presence one has to feel for such association. Prabhupada is saying the Lord is present everywhere and at all times. It is quite possible to have his association simply by following his instruction, because the Lord and his instruction and the Lord and his name, fame, attributes, and paraphernalia are all identical with him, being absolute knowledge. Maharaj Parikshit associated with the Lord even from the womb of his mother up to the last day of his valuable life, and thus he acquired all the essential qualities of the Lord in perfection. Wonderful. We can associate with the Lord by following his instructions. Following his instructions. And his instructions are in Bhagavad-Gita. Next verse. His child will be like Bali Maharaj in patience, a staunch devotee of Lord Krishna like Prahlad Maharaj, a performer of many Ashwamedh sacrifices, and a follower of the old and experienced man. This child will be the father of kings who will be like sages. For world peace and for the sake of religion, he will be the chastiser of the upstarts and the quarrelsome. This purport is worth reading. That's just one paragraph. It's worth reading. Let me read the translation again. This child will be the father of kings who will be like sages. So, Raj Rishis. Our history is full of rulers, but who did the job of Kshatriya rulers, but inside were like rishis. For world peace and for the sake of religion, he will be the chastiser of the upstarts and the quarrelsome. So purport Prabhupada is saying the wisest man in the world is a devotee of the Lord. The sages, hello? The sages are called wise men. The sages are called wise men, and there are different types of wise men for different branches of knowledge. Unless, therefore, the king or the head of state is the wisest man, he cannot control all types of wise men in the state. In the line of royal succession in the family of Maharaj Yudhishthir, all the kings, without exception, were the wisest men of their times. And so also it is foretold about Maharaj Parikshit and his son Maharaj Janmajaya. Janmajaya name comes up when you read Mahabharata, who was yet to be born. Such wise kings can become chastisers of upstarts and uprooters of Kali or quarrelsome elements. Unfortunately, what we see around, we just look at the news, we got the most unscrupulous rulers in the world now. We are being ruled by unscrupulous people. Such wise kings can become chastisers of upstarts and uprooters of Kali or quarrelsome elements. As will be clear in the chapters ahead, Maharaj Parikshit wanted to kill the personified Kali, who was attempting to kill a cow, the emblem of peace and religion. The symptoms of Kali are wine, women, gambling, slaughterhouses. Wise rulers of all states should take lessons from Maharaj Parikshit in how to maintain peace and morality by subduing the upstarts and quarrelsome people who indulge in wine, illicit connection with women, gambling, and meat eating, supplied by regularly maintained slaughterhouses. And we saw fall from grace of one prince in this country because of illicit connection with women. In this age of Kali, regular license is issued for maintaining all of these different departments of quarrel. Prabhupada's choice of words is amazing. In this age of Kali, regular licenses issued for maintaining all of these different departments of quarrel. So how can they expect peace and morality in the state? The state fathers, therefore, must follow the principles of becoming wiser by devotion to the Lord, by chastising the breakers of discipline, and by uprooting the symptoms of quarrel as mentioned above. If we want blazing fire, we must use dry fuel. Blazing fire and moist fuel go ill together. Peace and morality can prosper only by the principles of Maharaj Parikshit and his followers. Powerful, powerful stuff by Srila Prabhupada. So this conversation, it's the sages at Naimisharanya brought it back to this. Let's talk about Parikshit Maharaj again, because they went different other things were being discussed and glorified in the chapters. Now they brought the conversation back to Parikshit Maharaj, and so it says here, after hearing about his death, which will be caused by the bite of a snake. But so this is historic, because Sut Goswami is describing the original Bhagavatam he heard between Shukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. So that's historically that, and therefore 7-day katha was done, and then before even the snake bird could bite Parikshit, he was liberated. So after hearing about his death, which will be caused by the bite of a snake bird sent by a son of a Brahman, he will get himself free from all material attachment and surrender unto the personality of Godhead, taking shelter of him. And this is the last one. This is that the Brahmins, the learned Brahmins are speaking. Learned Brahmins are speaking. This is the last thing they're saying, describing the future of Parikshit Maharaj. After inquiring about proper knowledge from the son of Vyasadeva, who will be a great philosopher, Shukta Goswami, he will renounce all material attachment, achieve a life of fearlessness. Fearlessness. And Prabhupada is explaining that material knowledge means ignorance of the knowledge of one's own self. Philosophy means to seek after the right knowledge of one's own self, or the knowledge of self-realization. Without self-realization, philosophy is dry speculation or a waste of time and energy. Prabhupada does not mince his words. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam gives the right knowledge of one's own self. And by hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, one can get free from material attachment and enter into the kingdom of fearlessness. This world is fearfulness. It's full of fear, this world, not fearless. And then there's a warning at the end. Prabhupada is saying that he's saying, please hear Bhagavatam. Yeah. There is a sort of imitation of this reciting and hearing of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam by professional men, and the foolish audience thinks that they will get free from the clutches of material attachment, attain the life of fearlessness. Such imitative hearing of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is a caricature only, and one should not be misled by such a performance of Bhagavad Sapta undertaken by ridiculous, greedy fellows to maintain an establishment of material enjoyment. Prabhupada does not mince words. This path we are on is a very serious path. We cannot do things whimsically in it. You know, something which suits our senses. It is offering us the highest, but we need to make the right effort to achieve that highest. So, carrying on. So there are about from 19 to 28 was a description of Parikshit Maharaj's character as in the future, what he will be like by these learned Brahmins. So now what it's saying that thus those who are expert in astrological knowledge and in performance of the birth ceremony instructed King Yudhishthira about the future history of his child. Then, being sumptuously remunerated, they all returned to their respective homes. I'm going to read the first line again. Thus, those who are expert in astrological knowledge and in performance of the birth ceremony instructed King Yudhishthira about the future history of his child. And a bit of that is, I would like to read some of the purport here. The Vedas are the storehouse of knowledge, both material and spiritual. But such knowledge aims at perfection of self-realization. In other words, the Vedas are the guides for the civilized man in every respect. Since human life is the opportunity to get free from all material miseries, it is properly guided by the knowledge of the Vedas in the matters of both material needs and spiritual salvation. The specific intelligent class of men who are devoted particularly to the knowledge of the Vedas were called the Vipras, or the graduates of Vedic knowledge. There are different branches of knowledge in the Vedas, such as astrology and pathology, intelligent men, generally known as the Brahmins, took up all the different branches of Vedic knowledge to guide society. Even the Department of Military Education, Dhanurved, was also taken up by such intelligent men. And the Vipras were also teachers of this section of knowledge, such as Dronacharya, Kripacharya. And then the Prabhupada explaining the difference between Vipra and Brahman. The word Vipra mentioned herein is significant. There is a little difference between the Vipras and the Brahmanas. The Vipras are those who are expert in karma, kand, or fruitive activities, guiding the society towards fulfilling the material necessities of life, whereas the Brahmins are expert in spiritual knowledge of transcendence. Yes, that was very fascinating. I found that distinction was good to learn, right? The Vipras are expert in karma, kand. And the Brahmins are more focused on spiritual knowledge of rising above the material platform. Not that it actually happens in this day and age, but that's what it should be. Carrying on. So now the word, before we heard that Parikshit, also known as Vishnu Rat, is the one who is protected by Sri Vishnu. So that's his other name is known by. Now the actual name Parikshit. So his son would become famous. His son would become famous in the world as Parikshit. Now what Parikshit means, examiner. Parikshit Maharaj in the womb had the immense good fortune, blessing to have direct darshan of the Supreme Lord. Immense blessing. And when you have a darshan of the Lord, direct darshan, you do not forget it. You do not forget such an incident. It's with you forever. So when he was born and he was growing, he's looking for that person whose darshan he had in the womb of Uttara. He's looking for that. So this Parikshit means he's examining everybody he meets. He says, that wonderful darshan I had, is that you? Is it in you? Is it in you? Everybody he meets, he's looking for that supreme person whose darshan he had in the womb of Uttara. You do not forget such an event. These are what I call magic moments in your Krishna consciousness. In your Krishna consciousness, as you progress, look out for these magic moments when the Lord is reciprocating with you. You know, somewhat Keshav Maharaj was saying that he was describing another devotee's response to a question he had. He says, this devotee was asked, have you ever seen God? Have you ever seen Krishna? Have you ever taken darshan? He says, and the response from that devotee was, look, whether I've seen Krishna or not, I cannot say. What I see is hand at work every day. I see his hand at work every day. So that's why I say, in our progress in spiritual life, we may not have the darshan of the Lord, direct darshan, but there is some reciprocation by the Lord and some of them will be magic moments in your Krishna consciousness. When you have experiences, you won't forget them. It's just the Lord solidifying the knowledge, I'm here, I exist, I'm real. That's what's happening. Saying this, you're not on some dodgy path. No, you're on the right path. Here's a few tastes for you, few drops for you, so you can taste the nectar. So here it's saying, so his son would become famous in the world as Parikshit, examiner. Sorry, let me read that again. His son would become famous in the world as Parikshit because he would come to examine all human beings in his search after that personality whom he saw before his birth. Thus he would come to constantly contemplate him. Ah, wonderful. Everybody meets. I want to find that personality I saw in the womb of my mother. I want to find that personality. You know, when this magic moment happens, you never forget it. And this was an immense blessing of Parikshit Maharaj, direct darshan, direct protection by Vishnu, with his club spinning around him. So unlike us, when we remember past lives, we pray to the Lord, please, not another birth, we don't want any more, please, I'll do everything, you make so many promises. But the pain of delivery for us, we forget everything we were saying in the womb. But here, Parikshit Maharaj, he never forgot. Purport is very nice. Maharaj Parikshit, fortunate as he was, got the impression of the Lord even in the womb of his mother, and thus his contemplation on the Lord was constantly with him. Once the impression of the transcendental form of the Lord is fixed in one's mind, one can never forget him in any circumstance. Child Parikshit, after coming out of the womb, was in the habit of examining everyone to see whether he was the same personality whom he first saw in the womb. But no one could be equal to or more attractive than the Lord, and therefore he never accepted anyone. But the Lord was constantly with him by such examination, and thus Maharaj Parikshit was always engaged in the devotional service of the Lord by remembrance. Wonderful. And then there's an interesting quote by Jiva Goswami, remark by Jiva Goswami Prabhupada in the next paragraph is saying, Srila Jiva Goswami remarks in this connection, this is the instruction for all of us. Sri Jiva Goswami remarks in this connection that every child, if given an impression of the Lord from his very childhood, certainly becomes a great devotee of the Lord like Maharaj Parikshit. So we as devotee parents must bring up our children right from the beginning in a spiritual atmosphere. So that these impressions are created right from the beginning in the child. Wonderful. What a great moment we are in. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for giving us this Iskcon. And then, so text 30 and 31 are describing the growth of Parikshit Maharaj. As the moon in its waxing fortnight, as the moon is growing from dark moon to full moon, as the moon in its waxing fortnight develops day after day, so the royal prince Parikshit very soon developed luxuriantly under the care and full facilities of his guardian grandfathers. As I sometimes son and father is used in this chapter, but now the true relationship is grandfathers and grandson. And so he was brought up. He was brought up with 5 wonderful grandfathers, the 5 Pandavas. They took such a lovely care of him because he was the future, his future. Yeah. So now the topic changes. For the last 4 verses is describing Yudhishthira Maharaj wanting to do Ashwamedh Yagyas. Okay. So right in the beginning, we had Shaunak Rishi bring the topic back to Parikshit Maharaj. The Brahmastra was thrown at him. what happened then? So birth of Parikshit Maharaj, this chapter. Then Yudhishthira Maharaj is as emperor, his glories were described, 4 to 6. And then 7 to 11, Parikshit Maharaj is observing the Lord in the womb. That's a wonderful description. He's like mesmerized by this darshan. And as I said, this magic moment for him. Throughout his life, he was looking for it again and again. Everywhere he went, he's looking for it. Yeah, are you that person? Are you that person? Examining everyone. Parikshit, examine. Then Parikshit's birth has been described, and then the learned Brahmins and priests are doing the astrological forecast. They're chanting mantras led by Dhaumya and Kripa Acharya. And then Parikshit's other name is described as Vishnu Rata, the one who is protected by Vishnu. And then in the last few verses, we heard about, the Pandavas, lovingly brought him up because he was their future. In the great dynasty, he was their future. Now Yudhishthira Maharaj in the last 4 verses is now thinking about his own guilt because of the Mahabharata Yudh. And it was a great distress for Yudhishthira Maharaj. After he says, I've won this kingdom, but at what cost? What price? And we are commonly aware that Yudhishthira Maharaj was very, very depressed because of so many people were killed. But it was recently made clear to us it's not just people. Even in the purports, I believe Prabhupada is explaining, it's not just people Yudhishthira Maharaj was worrying about. All the animals which died. All the animals, all the elephants, the horses, millions were killed. This was because in our Vedic culture, the job of a ruler is to look after his praja, his subjects. Everybody in his kingdom are his subjects, including the animals. That's Vedic culture. That is Vedic culture. So he was very, very disturbed by what, and what price he was sitting on the throne. So he's thinking about doing some more Ashwamedh Yagyas, but the last 4 verses are that, and that winds up this chapter. So just at this time, King Yudhishthira was considering performing a horse sacrifice to get freed from sins incurred from fighting with kinsmen. But he became anxious to get some wealth, for there were no surplus funds outside of fines and tax collection. Short purport here about ruling without just enriching yourself. The rulers we have nowadays in the world, they're just about enriching themselves and empowering themselves. That's what current rulers are doing. Well, here is King Yudhishthira. As the Brahmins had a right to be subsidized by the state executive had the right to collect taxes and fines from the citizens. After the battle of Kurukshetra, the state treasury was exhausted, and therefore there was no surplus fund except the fund from tax collection and fines. Such funds were sufficient only for the state budget, and having no excess fund, there shouldn't be heavy taxation of people. There shouldn't be enriching oneself. You should tax enough, levy fines enough for what is necessary. But in this day and age, it's like everything's done to the excess, right? Such funds were sufficient only for the state budget, and having no excess fund. Therefore the king was anxious to get more wealth in some other way in order to perform the horse sacrifice. Maharaj Yudhishthira wanted to perform this sacrifice under the instruction of Bhishma, Lord Bhishmadev. So Bhishma, in the last, when the Pandavas are with Bhishma, they are lying on his bed of arrows, many questions were asked by Yudhishthira Maharaj. And Bhishma Maharaj was giving answer after answer. And a lot of it was to do with how to rule. It is said that actually this section in the Mahabharata is where the conversation between Bhishma and Yudhishthira Maharaj is a huge one. It's a huge chunk of the Mahabharata. Next, understanding the hearty wishes of the king, his brothers, as advised by the infallible Lord Krishna, collected sufficient riches from the north left by King Marut. So Yudhishthira's brothers, his four other brothers, as advised by the infallible Lord Krishna, Achyuta Chodita, Rataro Achyuta Chodita. The infallible Lord Krishna collected the riches from the north. So Krishna was advising them. By those riches, the king could procure the ingredients for 3 horse sacrifices. Thus the pious king Yudhishthira, who was very fearful after the battle of Kurukshetra, pleased Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead. There's a bit here I would like to read. I hope timing is okay, Prabhuji. We're nearly there. We're nearly finished. Okay, right. So, horse sacrifice prior to Mahabharata youth, the Pandavas became rulers of what is it? Indraprasth? You know, when the kingdom was divided, and Duryodhana and party thought, let's give them the bad part of the kingdom, but they turned it into a beautiful kingdom. And there Yudhishthira did the Rajasuya sacrifice. Now he's thinking about he wants to do Ashwamedh Yagya. It's a horse sacrifice. So here is some words Prabhupada is saying about how not to misunderstand what this is. The horse sacrifice yagya, or performed by the Vedic regulations, shouldn't be misunderstood as a process of killing animals. On the contrary, animals offered for the yagya were rejuvenated to a new span of life by the transcendental power of chanting the Vedic hymns, which, if properly chanted, are different from what is understood by the common layman. The Vedic mantras are all practical, and the proof is rejuvenation of the sacrificed animal. Now, the warning for us in this day and age. There is no possibility of such methodical chanting of the Vedic hymns by the so-called Brahmins or priests of the present age. The untrained descendants of the twice-born families are no more like their forefathers, and thus they are counted amongst the Shudras, or once-born men. The once-born man is unfit to chant the Vedic hymns, and therefore there is no practical utility of chanting the original hymns. And to say them all, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu propounded the Sankirtan movement or yagya for all practical purposes. And the people of the present age are strongly recommended to follow this sure and recognized path. So we will read about these sacrifices, previous ages by other personalities, but we must be well aware of what that was and what is allowed in this day and age, our day and age. Lord Shri Krishna, text 35, there's just two more verses. Lord Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, being invited to the sacrifices by Maharaj Yudhishthir, saw to it that they were performed by qualified twice-born Brahmins. Even Krishna is making sure he's found the right people to do this. Right? Very important that the right people are found for what you want, something you want doing. Make sure you find the right people. After that, for the pleasure of the relatives, the Lord remained a few months. So this is just like the beginning, in the prayers of Queen Kunti, that chapter. Krishna is after the Mahabharata youth. He stayed for a while in Hastinapur, and then he's ready to go back to Dwarka, because Dwarka was missing for a long time from Dwarka. Krishna was, so but he, this Queen Kunti is doing her stuti, then because Yudhishthira was dejected, then they all went to back to Kurukshetra to spend the last few days with Bhishmadev. And then Krishna returned to Dwarka. There's two chapters there. Krishna returned to Dwarka and how he's received in entrance, Krishna's entrance into Dwarka. But here, this afterwards, after Yudhishthira Maharaj took and became the emperor, they kept inviting Krishna. They kept inviting Krishna. And these three mega yagyas, Ashwamedh yagyas, they took Krishna's advice, and Krishna would be there. He would be there, and he would guide them. They were so fortunate throughout their life that Krishna was there for them. Even when they were banished in the forest, Krishna would come to them. They are so fortunate. I'll read that again. Lord Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, being invited to the sacrifices by Maharaj Yudhishthir, saw to it that they were performed by qualified Brahmins. After that, for the pleasure of the relatives, the Lord remained a few months. And then the very last verse, this chapter. O Shonak, thereafter the Lord, having bade farewell to King Yudhishthir, Draupadi, and other relatives, started for the city of Dwarka, accompanied by Arjun and other members of the Yadu dynasty. Thus ends the 12th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled Birth of Emperor Parikshit. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Wonderful class. Thank you for sharing your time and wisdom with us. And very interesting. You had so many wonderful points. I'm not going to go over them because of time. But yeah, one thing that really stands out is that, how Krishna's hand is always there in our lives. But we just have to be tuned in. And most of we're just not tuned in. And that's why we don't see it. We miss it. When you are tuned in, you can see everywhere how everything works in a position to Krishna's will. You accept that, and life is wonderful. And a couple of things I picked up on while reading this chapter with the team. One was the fact that these brahmanas, these learned brahmanas, how they described everything regarding Maharaj Parikshit's future. And they even mentioned that how he's going to die at a young age. So they did not hide anything. Now if you went to a gypsy or an astrologer, he will tell you all the good bits because he wants to make money after you. If he give you the bad news, then you will just walk out, depressed. You might never pay him. But they did not try to hide anything in the fear they might get punished or, they might not get paid. They shared all the knowledge, all the information that was there. And the Pandavas, I think they accepted it as well as God's will, as Krishna's will. So they did not, say anything, argue about it, or complain on that fact. That was one. And the other thing was how, in this chapter, Maharaj Parikshit personality, he was like really raised and built compared to so many great personalities, Maharaj Yudhishthira and Bhishampatama, even Krishna himself, they compared these qualities. And I think they really built him up just to then show that even Maharaj Parikshit, Emperor Parikshit, can be sacrificed for Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, because that was going to come out of it. By sacrificing him, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam would come, as a replacement. So anyone can be replaced for Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. That's the glories of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, please ask Prabhu, and let's hear his wisdom. Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Yeah, lovely class. Just wanted to say, when I heard the name Vishnu Radha, I thought you said Vishnu Radha. I thought, God, I've never thought of Vishnu and Radha's name would be put together. So I checked it out. It's Raata. So it's Radha. So I thought it was Radha. I thought, my God, I never heard that name before. So I've been thinking about it. Then you said it next time a little bit clearer.
Yeah.
And
sometimes I announce the last day, sometimes I don't. So we could just Vishnu Rat.
Yeah, T at the end. Yeah, I thought it was D. Radha. So I thought, okay. Yeah, I mean, Parikshit Maharaj, the whole Bhagavatam is because of Parikshit Maharaj, and so we are very, very fortunate. I heard a class where they said all the Parikshit Maharaj was protected by Krishna in the womb, but when he was given 7 days, I mean, why couldn't Krishna protect him then? It was much easier. Then he's a warrior himself or whatever. But, he was used to give us protection, which is Bhagavatam. And so even when we die, because we're all going to die, then if you read the Bhagavatam, we'll be protected as well, just like Parikshit Maharaj was protected. And I just admire Srila Prabhupada's hard work, how each verse and everything, he tries to explain. It makes it clear for you. Otherwise, if you just read through, you might not feel the importance of different words and different verses in there. So I was admiring that different aspects. And when you said choose wisely, the different, Brahmins, when you employ Vipra and Brahman, so that was quite nice. Because even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said he's not a Vipra. And so when we get asked by some people, would you do this sanskars or something like that? If I don't know, I'll just tell them, look, I don't know. I used to be involved in the Antyeshti sanskar before, but then somebody advised me, because look, you're a devotee, don't get involved in the funerals and things like that. You can talk about it when somebody asks you to speak. So I just dropped that, because a couple of Brahmins told me that. So even we as Vaishnavas should be very careful that if you don't know anything deeply, don't just go ahead and do it, hoping it'll go all right, because you got to pay the price if you make any mistakes, and then you wonder why your bhakti's gone down like that. So I think we got to be sincere, genuine, and if somebody does insist they want us to do any performance of something, say, are you happy to use me? Just saying, because I'm not the best. So if they still want to go ahead, and then you do that. So that's my experience has been, and it's much better there. Take the right decision as well when you ask. Never mind choosing someone, but when somebody comes to you as well, just make sure you don't fool them or cheat them. Just saying, I only know so much, and if they're happy, it's good. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Any questions before we finish? Anyone would like to ask a question?
Can I just make a statement, if it's possible?
Sure.
Yudhishthira, Parikshit were very elevated emperors. In our living memory, who is a good role model politically, who has aspired and has embraced some of those Vedic qualities. I mean, for me, it could be people like Modi, could be people like Mandela, could be people like Obama, could be JF Kennedy. Can you think of anybody else who has got those kind of qualities, who is a Raja Rishi or a Raja Emperor or a Raja politician or a Raja president?
The only one I can think of is Narendra Modi.
Thank you. Just confirm
He's
what I was
the
going
only
to say.
one. The other names you mentioned, I don't put in the same category.
Yeah.
Because of their eating habits and other things. I mean, they're very popular, and some of them I do like, at the ordinary level. I do admire them. But in terms of having principles, core principles, Narendra Modi, I know, would observe like Navratra fasts. So it doesn't matter where he is in the world, he will still maintain his fast. And before he takes on a new project, which is very taxing, he will do some tapasya. He will go and get the Lord's blessings somehow or other. So there is Vedic. There is some Vedic background to what he does, how he rules. Anybody else?
No, thank you. That confirms what I always believed in, but that's really helpful. Thank you.
Haribo.
Thank you, Prabhu. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so speaking of Raj Rishis, after you discussed Maharaj Parikshit, also mentioned Maharaj Yudhishthira. From what you've read, from what you've maybe heard from others as well, what would you say were notable similarities and differences between Maharaj Yudhishthira and Maharaj Parikshit?
Differences, what or
So, like, I mean, in terms of, like, we've obviously within Bhagavatam, it mentions both Maharaj Yudhishthira and Maharaj Parikshit, but in terms of any similarities and differences, we know they're both Raj Rishis, but is there anything that you can think of specifically that stands out in terms of similarities and differences between both of them? No?
ruling according to dharma.
Okay.
Ruling according to dharma.
Okay, no problem.
Not going against dharma.
Yeah.
Maharaj Parikshit, the thing which stands out for me is how it's so quick that a cow is being tortured in my presence, in my kingdom. He's ready to kill Kali straight away. So, that lack of hesitation it was some of the verses you read earlier on. He says, he wouldn't hesitate to stop nonsense in his kingdom.
Sure.
That is a very strong nature of a ruler, that was. And of course, both of them had darshan of Lord. Pandus, they were taking darshan all the time of Krishna.
Yes.
Krishna, and sometimes they wouldn't have to go to him, he would come to them. Often he would come to them. That's how blessed they were. And Parikshit Maharaj had that one darshan in the womb, and for life, he was like fixated.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Also, we must add that Yudhishthira Maharaj had brothers, who would support him and everything. I think Parikshit Maharaj was on his own. And they were all Maharathis, so there was more of them. And that's why Parikshit Maharaj had to take quite a few decisions, with his own strength, his purity. And as we read, why was he protected by the Lord is because he's a pure soul. So really, I would say Parikshit Maharaj, as Vidura Prabhu said, he was very quick at it, where Yudhishthira Maharaj always hesitated, even entered the gambling arena when others were telling him not to, but he kept his Kshatriya nature. And if somebody challenges, he accepted. So I see that every time he did not, and I don't think Draupadi was happy, and Bhim wasn't happy with Yudhishthira's hesitation and not taking direct action. And Bhim would always sort of say, well, I'll sort this person out then. Whereas I think Parikshit Maharaj didn't have any choice. He was the only one there at the top, and he would have harder work to, run the kingdom. And he did well. And even the sage, when he discovered his son had cursed him, he said, why did you curse him for? He's a very nice, wonderful king. And so it's a good question. You're saying, I never thought about it before. I just see the lineage thinking, well, they're all in the same category. But looking at the characters, like he was alone and others were brothers there. And as Vidura Prabhu said, they were meeting Krishna on a regular basis. But Parikshit Maharaj just initially saw him. And so good. Thank you. Yeah.
I always considered Parikshit Maharaj a bit more like Arjun, actually, just in terms of personality,
Yeah.
more direct. That's why I asked the question, because Yudhishthira is quite unique in that sense. Even though he's a Kshatriya, he's a lot more calmer, not necessarily quick to...
Dharamraj.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And Arjun was around. I mean, he's Arjun's grandson.
Yeah.
And when the Brahmastra was shot first time, then Arjun sort of countered it. But the second one, Uttara is one, then Krishna had to deal with that. And it's interesting that when the Brahmastra was in the womb, the Parikshit saw Krishna swinging a club, not Sudarshan, because Sudarshan would be fiery. So fire with fire would be more fire. And in the womb, so he used a club, so he must be like a fan, trying to cool it down. So I find that quite interesting that it was the club, not the Sudarshan. All these details are fascinating, and Guru Sevak many times talks about these amazing historical events, which others call it mythology, but actually the symptoms of nuclear weapons are mentioned in Mahabharata and Bhagavatam. And it's only recently that the atom bomb and all that was released. So, people just thought, okay, maybe those symptoms are imagined, but they're accurate. And I think even in a minuscule, in the womb, the symptoms will be the same and incredible. Just now we had the bomb blast in Delhi and 10 people died or something like that. So when it's fire, like it's just explosion and they die. But how Krishna has so quickly cool the weapon down and nothing happened to the womb and the baby. Now, we don't have that technology. Krishna could do that quickly. I don't think Arjun could have done it. So what's fascinating me more and more, that we are appreciating Srila Prabhupada's work, appreciating Bhagavatam, Bhagavad-Gita, the details in those scriptures. We shouldn't consider them mythology and imagine or something. And it's so exciting that we are believing everything we're reading now. When we first started in our Krishna consciousness, we were just, coming across it and didn't have any judgment on it. But as you mature, you hear that the world around you, with all the scientific, all AI and everything, is still chaotic and mess. But whereas Bhagavatam and all that knowledge still applies, So artificial means artificial. Although we get excited about it, that we are able to have pictures with AI one and everything, and they're aiding our visual. But in reality, the truth is in Bhagavatam, Mahabharata, and it'll never change,
Yeah,
So,
and no soul in it.
Hanji?
There's no soul in it. This AI and all this,
Yeah. There's no soul in it. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Haridas Prabhu.
Jai.
And anyway, it's wonderful class, and all glories to Iskcon commentary, all glories to
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu.
Thank you for engaging us.
And anyway, let's wrap up here. And let's all give 3 Hari Bols, unmute if you can, please, and give 3 Hari Bols to Vidura Prabhu. So ready? Haribo!
Haribo.
Haribo.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you for the association. Thank you for your time and energy, putting the effort in for this class. So catch up with you soon.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Well done for convening it. Thank you. Jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you all for joining. Thank you.